Subscribe or I'm gonna slap your ass. Hello, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be making an Omega Strikers tier list. This one's going to be for forwards. Starting at S tier, we're going to have a few characters up in here. The first one is going to be Juno, as you can already see. Juno is the best forward in the game. Her special with the blobos hitting the floor is absolutely ridiculous if it comes down to scoring. Takes up so much space and it can almost give you free goals because those blobos hit it in multiple directions, and sometimes it's really hard to guess where it's going. So it makes great setups, good scoring potential. Her blobo shot, or whatever you want to call it, where she throws one really far, is a great scoring tool. It's not really great for knocking people out. It has a lot of knockback on it, and it does really good damage too, and leaves a blobo behind. The best part about her is her blobos. And her jump, her jump's probably like the thing that doesn't really matter the most, but her jump's pretty good too. It's full immortality and allows her to get some space. So that's for Juno. Second best forward is probably going to have to be Era. She's really hard to kill. Her speed boost is really great. And bully characters like X, Juliet. I'm even going to put Rasmus and Zentaro up there. Like those characters who are really good at killing people. She can shrink ray them. They move slower. And X is on her. She shrink rays them and they're kind of gone. Like they're not playing the game for a few seconds. And with cast to last, it becomes even better. I already said this, I think, but her speed is really strong. It applies to the whole team, which is great. And her special is all right. It's really great at denying areas, but it really starts to shine with like Monumentalist and Timeless Creator, making it bigger and stronger. But her special is like really good too. But since she's really hard to kill and her shrink ray is really annoying to deal with, and her shrink ray is really good for scoring too because its hitbox is like pretty big, she's gonna go in S tier as the second best forward in the game. For number 3, looking at this here, I'm probably going to have to throw Juliet up here, but I don't know if I want to put her at S or top of A. We'll put her at the bottom of S for now, but the reason why I'm putting Juliet up here, her kill potential is through the roof. She's the best brawler in the game. By far. I don't really think it's even close. Her damage is amazing. She can kick into punch, and it's not dodgeable because it's at the same time and you're stunned, so you can't dodge it. Her knockback is great by default, and the only downside about her, really, is the fact that her special can be dodged out of. But that's really about it. Her impact's really good, kill potential is great, she can keep people off of her. Scoring is actually pretty good too. Her kick can be used like really well for scoring. Like you can hit it in and then kick in, and you can usually stun the goalie and get goals off of it. So I do think she has a lot of potential as a forward, but she's mostly just better at killing. Moving down to A. This is probably going to be a toss-up between Estelle and Rasmus. Honestly, I'm going to have to put Estelle here. As like a forward, her blink is amazing. It has really big hitbox on it. It's great for scoring. Her kunai barrage, or whatever you want to call it, where she throws like, was it 5 or 6 knives, is really good. Shoot the core, throw the knives behind it. Unless you have a barricade or something, or the goalie gets insanely lucky, that ball is going in 90% of the time. Unless you completely mess it up or they get lucky. That cooldown is absurdly good, and she has a really long range attack too that has good knockback on it, so it's great for killing, and it's really good for scoring as well. Overall, she's just really solid at scoring. She's probably the best scorer in the game, or close to it. Juno's still slightly better at scoring, but Estelle's a little more consistent. Underneath Estelle, though, we're probably going to have to go with Rasmus. This is a character I think is probably being slept on a little bit right now, because I don't see him played a lot, unless it's on Ai.Mi's app, where he can just one-touch you in the middle of the map for some reason, because it hasn't been removed from the game yet. But overall, he's really great. His speed boost is amazing. Even though it's just a solo speed boost, it's really great. His ability to kind of have like a faster version of X's like spin is amazing too, especially when you mix it with the speed and you go to pressure the goalie and stuff them. gets so many goals or breaks barricades very consistently. His little mid-range attack is great for defending himself and for killing. His mid-range kind of poke, you see a Juliet or an X or Zentaro, for example, coming at you, you can just keep smacking them with that like mid-range one. Just keep them away from you, knock them back, and keep running away from them. I've noticed a lot of Rasmuses that I see will do that, and it actually gets them a lot of value. But the main thing that really makes him really good is his special. It has really great kill potential. It counters something really annoying about killing some people in this game. It's when they kind of stand in the middle of the map. Because it is sometimes you have to knock them once or twice just to get them over there. And if you're not fully coordinated with your team, it can be annoying to do that sometimes. But with his like special, he can kind of sit towards the bottom and pull you towards him and knock you off, which is something really good for that special. Or it's really good for mix-ups at the goal. He can shoot it one direction, pull it back to him, and shoot it another direction and completely throw off goalies. I've seen some really good Rasmuses do that to me when I'm playing goalie sometimes, and even to my Rasmus is doing it to other teams' goalies too. That special is what makes him really great. Underneath Rasmus, though, it's a toss-up between X or Zentaro. I'm probably going to have to go with Zentaro underneath this. And the reason why, kill potential, great. The downside of him and why he'll not be even considered like better than like Rasmus or Estelle is he has lower health intrinsically than every other character in the game. But his blink attacks are actually amazing. They have great kill potential to them. They are great for scoring. But the other downside about him besides his health that kind of hinders him is his ult. It should either control the ball to where the ball can't be hit, kind of like how you do when you spark it. Like he shouldn't be able to like have the ball hit out of his ult, or he needs to be able to control the ball better. Controlling the ball in that ult is a nightmare. And that's something they need to fix about him. But I think he could be a better character if they make his ults just better. Everything else about him is really good. His dash, his passive dash that he gets for hitting the ball many times, amazing for scoring if you time it right. Overall, he has a lot of tools that help him score, and he has a lot of tools that keep constant pressure on people, and if you try to run away from him, he'll catch up with his blink. So he's really good against characters who like to run away a lot, such as like maybe like Rasmus, because he has the speed and the knockback. So he would be a good pick into that. Underneath Zentaro, and probably the last 8 tier, we're going to have to go with X. I think X is overrated as hell, but I'm still going to put him up here anyways. The only good thing about X is scoring, because when he uses his ultimate where he grows in size and his normal stun, he can do that and completely stuff a goalie to the point they can't really do much, and he's really good for that. You get an X in that form in a goalie's face, and he's stunning the goalie. You guys score like really consistently with that, and that's the good part about him. And he kind of walk up and bully the goalie a bit, and most likely knock them out. Against other forwards, I think he's terrible. His abilities have like no knockback at all, and they do very little damage. And characters like Juliet won't damage him. Era will render his big form useless by shrinking him. Rasmus will jab him away. Zentaro will teleport. All sorts of things like that. To where X doesn't really get any value because he has no movement. And all of his abilities do low damage. So honestly, I still think he's overrated. But I think for scoring, for his ultimate in the goalpost and bullying the goalie, I still think he deserves a spot high up because of how overpowered he is at just stuffing a goalie. Moving on to B, start of B. Now, you know what? This might be biased, but I'm putting Ai.Mi in A, and I'm putting her right above Zentaro. I forgot about her. I think Ai.Mi is amazing. Her turret form is stupid. Her ultimate, where she throws all like the little the glitches at you over and over, is great pressure on a goal, kind of taking away an entire area. The what are they called? the perks again in between sets. I forget what they're called. Awakenings, that's what they're called. Awakenings only make make that turret better. It's really great. Her blink is amazing. Her blink teleport is really good. Has a massive hitbox, and you can still hit immediately after blinking too, which I do think is really strong about her. The only thing that is like a little bit like scuffed about Ai.Mi is her glitch pop or whatever it's called, where she throws the projectile out with the cat paw. That thing sometimes hits the ball the directions it should never even go. I've seen Ai.Mi throw it directly head on, and it goes the complete other direction, and it has a really scuffed hitbox to it. But her other abilities are so good to the point I think she deserves a spot up here. You can also, her blink is really good for killing too, and her turret kind of forces out spark meter too, because you kind of have to dodge to get out of it. Now actually moving on to the B tier, we're probably going to start off with Asher. I actually think Asher is a really good forward. She kind of does what X does, but slightly worse. She is really good at stuffing goalies. Her cooldowns are great at stunning and controlling the ball to a point where goalies really have to play around hard around her cooldowns, especially the one where she has like multi hits and then shoves it in. And plus her like dash and her barricade are really great at taking away angles too and forcing balls in and stuffing goalies. Overall, she's decent everywhere else, but she's kind of like X, where she's really only shines as a forward in the goal, in the enemy team's goal, stuffing the goalie over and over. Beneath Asher, I'm going to have to go. I'm honestly gonna go Jackar. I have a little bit of bias with Jackar. I do think he's a little slept on. He is the greatest coward in the entire game. He's really great at not dying. His survivability is amazing. His score potential is pretty good too. It's the thing about him is I just don't think a lot of people have played him enough for anyone to consider him like amazing or bad, which is why I'm kind of putting him like mid B. Because I think he is solid. His shots are great. He starts off with 2 shots, and those things are kind of like a worse version of Estelle's kunais, for example, whatever they're called, where she throws like 5 of them. Jackar kind of has 2 charges of that with shorter range. But I do think they are really great against characters like Zentaro, Rasmus, Juliet, and X, where if they do try to like bully you, he can constantly shoot back at them and get them off of him, constantly putting pressure on. I do think his other ability that drains like your energy away and stuff like that, I forget what it's called, but it's the one that covers you in red. It's a really good ability too, just constantly draining health and things like that. It is really good. And honestly, his invisibility is solid. Something I do think it kind of holds him back is his invisibility is solid, but it's really predictable in a way, which is why I can't really put him higher. His invisibility is probably like the main thing about him, how when he moves faster and stuff, but it's kind of predictable because he can only move so far. So, and there isn't really a lot of times where like forwards can't really track him that well. So the ability kind of becomes useless because he'll end up getting the ball usually swiped from him anyways. So I don't think he really deserves a spot higher than like B. He's just kind of mediocre, but he can just be annoying to kill. The great thing about him is the survivability. That's about it. For forwards, I'm going to have to put Rune right underneath Jackar. Rune, I think, should almost never touch forward and should only be played at goal, but I could be wrong about that one. He is overall kind of solid. He has great area denial, and that's something really good about him. His banishment ult is really good too, with being able to like knock goalies in place, keep forwards in control, or just to stop the ball, period. He has really good CC with that, and his survivability is really good too with his teleport just being a thing. But overall, as a forward, he's way too defensive and not offensive in a way where he can really score. And killing, the only way he really gets damage is off of banishment and then using his primary to like put the circle on top of a player. And even then, it doesn't do an insane amount of damage. So you really need your teammates to follow up with that. So he's kind of reliant on his teammate, forward when he's playing forward to do most of the work for him, as he plays like a really passive support kind of. So I don't really think as a forward he deserves any spot higher than like average, really, just because he's way too defensive to be a forward. Underneath him, though, I'm probably going to put Atlas. I don't think this character is great for forward at all. He kind of has some stuff like kind of similar to Rune if you want to play him in a forward. He's more like kind of a passive support. The only thing that kind of gets him like score potential is his shield being thrown at somebody, which is like the one thing Atlas has going for him as a forward. Other than that, his rescue ability is kind of just the same as he would be as goalie. It just saves teammates and heals. It's nothing really that special in both compared to both roles. But yeah, his shield's pretty good, and his sphere that he like expands for area denial is pretty okay as forward, but I still think it's more too defensive to really be used in a forward kind of play unless you're really hard stuffing a goalie. Then it can be kind of useful. But other than that, I just don't really see a reason for him to be any higher in this. Underneath, we're gonna move to actually for forwards, we're gonna honestly, I don't really think any characters like C tier besides like Luna. So I'm just gonna place these three and explain it like shortly, because I do think I'm taking a little bit too much time to explain this stuff. But Dubu, way too defensive. He's big, that's the only thing he really has going for him. His log's okay at scoring. His wall has some area denial to it, but other characters have better tools for forward. And overall, his role is kind of mediocre too, as an offensive type. He's just overall sluggish. Kai, he's okay, but as a forward, not really. His projectiles are all right, but really easy to play around and wait out. They don't cause knockback. They kind of just cause stall. They don't really hit it far at all or hard. Without awakenings, anyway. He's better at goalie overall, and I'll go over that in my goalie tier list and kind of go more in depth on Kai. But he just as a forward, he's not that great. For C tier, I'm putting Luna. I think Luna's probably the worst character in the game. Her ultimate is mediocre at best. Just press the dodge button, it does nothing. It hits the ball in like weird directions. You don't really have control of what happens with the ball. Players dodge it. Start of the game, it's kind of useless. Positives about her, though. The rocket she shoots is a really good ability, has really great range, kill potential, and just overall pressure on the goalie. I do think her rocket is a really strong ability, but her other ability, like her dash, where she flies across the map, I think that ability is kind of mediocre too. Easy to play around. It's overall kind of hard to control too. And she doesn't really have like the defensive abilities to get away from people. So she just doesn't feel like a great character to even play as a forward. Probably more as like a goalie type, but even then she's still kind of mid as goalie. Anyways, this is my forward tier list. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Goodbye.
Oh yes, very hard.